forget things, I think it's time to let you go. I loved you more than I think you will ever know. It's obvious our time has started running low. I'm losing hope. Like all good things, I think it's time to let you go.
What's up, Make Pop Music? It's Austin here from Make Pop Music and Austin Hall Audio and Visual, and we are back with another video. And for the video this week, I wanted to focus on something we normally skip right past in most of our tutorials, and that is how to write a bridge. Normally when we're working on our videos, we're working on verses or choruses, or we're building out full productions, but we rarely ever have the time in the video to actually hop into what a bridge is or how to build that out. So today, I just wanted to do a whole video focusing on exactly that. In our video today, we're going to talk a little bit about what a bridge is, what are some of the functions and purposes a bridge serves in a song, how to pick the style of bridge that you're going to want in your song, and then we're actually going to hop in the DAW and I'm going to show you how to make a bridge for a song that I am working on at the moment. If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. All of the support helps us out a ton. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below and I'll try to answer that so I can provide some clarity for that for you. But without further ado, let's actually hop over here and talk a little bit about what a bridge is. Alright, so we're at the computer, but before we actually hop in and I start building out a bridge, I just want to take a second to chat about what a bridge is, some different functions and purposes that a bridge serves, and some different types of bridges that I think that you can use in your production, just to really drive it home. So first, let's go ahead and discuss what a bridge is. And a bridge is basically a part of the song where you are refraining from using any repetitive elements that you might have used before in the verses or chorus. This is a really good chance to just kind of give your listener something new, and it's really just a breath of fresh air. It normally either comes after the second verse or after the second chorus, and by that point in the song, you're wanting to do something different. So when I'm making a bridge, there are three things that I am looking for while I'm doing it. The first thing that I'm looking for when I make a bridge is, what do I want the dynamic to be? Am I going to build the song up? Am I going to bring the song back down? Am I starting the bridge really quiet and then bringing it up? Am I keeping all of the bridge really quiet? There are a bunch of different things that we can do, and I'll kind of show you some examples of those. The second thing that I'm keeping in mind is, what do I want the lyrics for this to be? This is typically where I'll have my lyrics play out for the song, and I'll make sure that everything that I'm saying in the song is kind of coming full circle. If I have a song that's like a narrative, this is where I'll kind of tie all that together. If I have a song that's going to have some kind of plot twist, the bridge always feels like a really good place to kind of get that done. And the third thing that I like to keep in mind is, how much novelty am I including in the bridge? Am I changing the chord progression? Am I changing the structure? Am I changing the lyrics, the melody? Am I changing any kind of production elements? Because you're going to want something new and novel, because at this point people have listened to like 2 to 2.5 minutes of a song and they're needing a breath of fresh air. So what can you do different in your song? Sometimes it's as simple as just swapping a couple production elements and changing the actual vocal. Sometimes it is a completely different arrangement than what we already have. But without further ado, let's actually go ahead and look at some types of bridges before we go into making one. Alright, so the first bridge that I want to discuss is probably my favorite version of a bridge, and it's the minimal bridge. This typically goes after a second chorus and before the third chorus. It's a really nice way to bring the energy down, and for this song in particular, the chord progression is the same as most of the rest of the song, but the difference is that I've really brought down the production elements and I've completely changed the lyrics and the vocal melody, so it feels completely new in that sense. So I'll kind of show you the chords going into it, and then I'll show you how it leads into the final chorus.
I could tell you my thoughts, but would you understand? I could beg for your help, but now.
You can see how we really bring it down. It's super chill. We have this like kind of nice soft vocal, and then right here we'll have this big kind of vocal run that goes into the final chorus.
To be a better man, will you come around and save me? Be my silver lining.
So the minimal bridge is typically the easiest one to write. It's the one that I recommend you do if, you're not even sure if the song should have a bridge, or if there's not something that you're specifically trying to get away from. It just gives the listener a chance to catch their breath, and it gives you a chance to kind of expand on the storyline of the song without really surprising and shocking them. The second type of bridge that I want to talk about is the musical interlude, and this is a great place to put a guitar solo if you have one of those. This is also a really solid place that you could put like a post drop or something like that that's only going to happen once in the song. If you have some kind of extended chorus or something like that, this is typically a really good spot for that. One thing to keep in mind is that typically these are pretty high in energy and they do come after a chorus. So after these big musical interludes, you'll probably want a pre-chorus or something to kind of bring the energy down before you go into another big chorus. So we'll kind of show you that on a song called Attention by Nightbreakers that I produced. So we go from a chorus straight into this like guitar solo right here. So we have that solo, and then we're actually going into what's the pre-chorus, but we gave the pre-chorus an entirely new instrumentation. And then we go into this like kind of false chorus. And then that just goes into a big final chorus. So what can I say? So that's a good example of how when you're doing something like a musical interlude where you're going to want to bring it down, once you kind of rock out and do whatever you need to do in that bridge or that interlude, definitely give your listener a chance to still kind of refresh their ears and catch their breath before you go and blast them with the final chorus. Another bridge example is going to be using something like a feature, and this is a really good way for if you don't want to do anything way too dynamic or you don't want to kind of swap up any of the production elements. You can always just throw a different voice on there, and that will feel fresh enough to the listener typically to get them through to the final chorus, and that's exactly what happens here. The instrumentation is pretty much the same as most of the rest of the song. The only big difference is that we include a couple more kind of trap drum elements, but we are going from a chorus into this kind of bridge that we have a rapper that's featured, and then the rap feature also kind of handles the last pre-chorus, and then we go into the final chorus. Hands down, you're the best one. Got the car on the lot, let me test one. Honestly, you should forget him. You gotta give one up just to get one. So we have that going through pretty much the entire time, and then we get to this. If it were me, I would be the one to have you down on both of me. Which is kind of like a pre-chorus, and then we go into the final chorus. You up that leash if it were me. I would understand if you feel like you gotta leave. And then another one that I like to do sometimes is the production flex. It's kind of similar to the minimal, where you'll bring the energy down, but instead of actually building on the lyrics and the actual story and swapping in a new melody for vocals, this is a really good spot where if you're working with an artist that either is having writer's block and they feel like the song is already finished, or if you just need like a placeholder bridge or something like that, this is typically the perfect opportunity for that. So in this song, it's In Between by Grayson Gibson. I produced this one as well. You'll hear everything kind of die down, and then instead of Grayson writing another vocal to go over this, we just play around with some production elements. So we do these pitch vocals a lot. Crush vocals, reverses, stuff like that, and then we just go into the final chord. So baby, say what's on your mind. And that's a really good way for if you need a placeholder bridge, or if the artist is just stuck, or you feel like the entire narrative is finished. Go ahead and kind of bring the energy down so the listener can kind of catch their breath, but just fill it with cool little production things. Vocal chops are always really nice. Any kind of extra little, synth thing that you could use. Almost like a musical interlude, but it's still a little bit more vocal forward. And then we have something like the switch up. This is typically like the most classic approach to a bridge, where you're changing the chord progression, you're kind of changing the melody, you're changing pretty much everything about it. And if it's done right, this is one of my favorite types of bridges, but they are the hardest to pull off because you do need to know how to transition from chord progression to different chord progression. And then you also have to just make sure that you can keep that energy without, having like too dynamic of a roller coaster. Sometimes you can have too many dynamics in a song and it just feels like it's like stop, start, and that can get really annoying. But this song that I mixed for Lowborn does a really good job of just bridging together a really big chorus, a really big bridge, and a final big chorus with just a couple little like 4-bar interludes. So I'll show you that now. So you see, we have that little kind of 4-bar turnaround, and then we go into this bridge where all new vocals, all new guitar, all new drums. It's a completely different vibe than a lot of the rest of the song, and it really feels like a traditional bridge. This works so well in rock or in folk. It's a little harder to do in pop because typically people want that repetitive progression, but if you're able to pull it off, this is one of my favorites, and then they just transition into the last chorus like this. And that's really all that's to that. If you're doing that one, it's a really good idea to kind of use similar chords that you've used already. You can just restructure those in a different progression that way. It still feels novel, but you're not adding, 4 more chords on top of 4 chords that you've already used. It's more so just kind of inverting that progression. Another one is kind of the mix and match, and this is really nice if there's just a longer bridge and there's a lot that you want to do. Like the minimal bridge is cool, but unless you're going to build it up, it can get really old after, like 8 to 16 bars. But if you're mixing and matching some of the elements like we'll do in this one, it kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility. So you'll hear that we bring it down like a minimal bridge, we start building it up, we do some production flexes in there, we'll kind of even do a little bit of a switch up for a second, and then another one that we don't have an example for is like a stomp clap chorus, like think of Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, or like Gives You Hell by All American Rejects, you know, just big gang vocals, big soaring drums, stuff like that. We'll kind of mix all of those in this bridge. This is Back To by Nightbreakers. So this is an inverted progression right here. It's the first time we have something like this, and it's a completely different vocal melody.
'Cause I'm scared to live without you now. I'll take.
Now we're going into something similar with like that stomp clap kind of, I call it the crowd pleaser. It's really where like an audience can get super involved, especially if you're playing live. Just picture like everybody clapping their hands and kind of yelling it together. We do have a bass under that, but it still kind of serves the same purpose. And then we go into this little false chorus where that same kind of stomp clap crowd pleaser energy continues.
Live without you now.
So instead of using gang vocals, obviously we just used a big vocoder, and that kind of served that same purpose. And then we transition into the last chorus like this.
I think we should go back to summer sunsets with you in my arms.
So you can have a bridge that kind of harps on one of these elements or one of these styles, or you can kind of mix them and match them like that last example, and it'll give you something that you can kind of stretch out. It's pretty unique. You still have something super fresh, and at the end, we started tying in things that felt familiar to the song. So it kind of gives people a second to hear something new and then have something familiar that they can latch onto, but it's still like a more calm energy. And then you go into a big explosive final chorus. So now that we've done that, I do want to walk you through over how I actually made a bridge for a song that I'm working on. This is a song that we kind of made for one of our previous videos, how to write a pop ballad. So if you want to see kind of the full production up to this point, go check that video out because we did everything up to this point in that, and then we're basically just going to pick up from there. So if you haven't seen that, maybe click off this video, head over to that one, and then come back to this one when you are done. If it doesn't interest you, then we can just kind of continue where we left off. So we have this piano that kind of continues through all of the songs so far. It's in the verses, it's in the choruses, it's in everything. And so far the instrumentation of the song is, it starts off with piano and guitar, and then we kind of bring in some bass, and then for the second verse and the second chorus, we bring in some like 4 on the floor kick drums, and we bring in some light little claps and stuff like that. So the biggest arrangement we have up until where we're gonna write the bridge is this.
Can we take back all the lost emotion? Can we try again, but be more open? I just wanna make.
And so far, that's the biggest thing that we have. The chord progression is the same throughout the entire song up to this point. And really, the main element kind of continues. It's this piano right here. And it's just 4 chords, and they're super simple, and it goes like this. So it's nice, it's pretty, it did its job for the rest of the song, but we're going into a bridge. I feel like people are probably getting bored with that, so I think it's time to swap up the progression. And my first technique for doing this, instead of starting to add a bunch of different chords, is just to actually change the arrangement of the chords. So far in the song, we have an F, then we have a C, then we go up to a D, then down to a C, then down to a B flat. So we have... and that's it. So instead of tying in a bunch of different chords, there's a couple more that we could use in that scale. I still wanted it to feel familiar, so what I did is instead of running down from that F to that B flat, I actually start at the B flat for this, so you'll kind of hear that. I'll play it so you can kind of hear it come in. So what this is doing is, instead of us running it down and kind of having that somber tone that we've had throughout the rest of the song. We're picking this up. It almost feels uplifting. The song is about a breakup and it's like a heartbreak song. And I really wanted this bridge to kind of wrap up that entire narrative, and being able to kind of invert that chord progression kind of lifts that spirit. And so it's not just the same, you know, it's, you know, flipping that around a little bit. So we just are going from this B flat to C to D. And then at first we go to an A, and then B flat, C, D, F. And that's just giving us that nice uplift. It's a new chord progression, but it's still familiar enough and it still fits in really easy without us having to do some kind of key change or really use a ton of music theory. So flipping around your chords is a really, really solid way to do that. So once I had that piano, I knew that I was going to be able to write something decently different to that. So I started working on the vocal, and lyrically, this is just where I basically, you know, at this point up until the song, it was about a relationship that just very clearly wasn't working. And, you know, the subject was having a very hard time letting that go. And so in the bridge, I decided to just kind of come full circle and acknowledge that this is the end. And what I did was I kept that piano really light at first, and I just wrote this really soft falsetto vocal over it that kind of mirrors the last line of the chorus in melody, but we just extended on that a lot. So this is what we have.
Maybe we just never were alone. Can't get things, I think it's time to let you go. I loved you more than I think you will ever know. It's obvious our time has started running low. I'm losing hope.
And so I had basically the structure of the bridge right there, but I figured, okay, now let's play around with the dynamics, because that's, you know, something that we talked about earlier when you're thinking about a bridge. So I was going from the biggest part of the song that we had before. Now I'm bringing it down. It's the most minimal. There's not even guitar. It's literally just piano and that falsetto solo vocal. And I kind of wanted to have this big, explosive, really desperate sounding bridge. So I decided I'm going to run through that chord progression again. I'm going to run through those lyrics and everything again, but I'm going to sing it in full chest voice. I'm going to layer up the vocals, and I'm going to layer a bunch of production elements. And I thought, hey, since I'm going to have the bridge now be the biggest part of the song, what I could do is I could go for that last chorus. Instead of having a big, generic, exploding last chorus, we'll go to this really small, desperate sounding intimate chorus. And to me, it just played a dynamic off so much better than ending it with this big kind of soaring chorus. It's so somber. We were able to still kind of keep that emotion there by having this bridge kind of feel a little bit more fulfilled. So some production elements that we're going to add are, on top of that piano, we have a string pad, low key pad, and a filler pad. These are three that we used in that first video. So again, if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But it's just the, you know, suspended chords for that. And it's just three pads layered on top of each other, so we're getting a nice little bit of width and texture and ambience. And that layered over the piano just creates this nice little musical bed. Adds some sustain and just fills out the sonic space of that. And then I also wanted to go ahead and add some strings. I had printed them before so they wouldn't make my CPU glitch. But these are just from the East West Play series. And again, same thing, those chords, and I was just kind of alternating a right-hand note on top to add a little bit of counter melody. And so all of that together sounds like this. And then I just pulled in this spacey guitar that we had used earlier in the song. And since it was just ambient notes and it's in the same key, I didn't really even rearrange it. I just thought it was a nice little callback, and it was something that I thought tied this bridge to the other part of the song, since pretty much everything else had changed. And so that's a really cool effect that we have on that. I also have the acoustic guitar that we have earlier in the song, and I just chopped it and rearranged it to the new progression. So we're starting to build up that musical bed so it feels really new, it feels novel, it feels big, and I knew that I was going to want some drums, so I took the same kick that we have that's like this 4 on the floor kick, but I put a new pattern to it. I kind of did this syncopated triplet feel to kind of play off of that triplet feel that we have in the guitar that we hadn't really addressed in the percussion. So we have this. And I just layered up some claps and some snaps just to give us a little bit more punch on that snare hit. And then I also layered over this orchestral hit for that kick to give us a little bit of width and punch. And then a couple other things, I layered a tambourine every other hit, I added a couple little down hits, and then I pulled over that little top loop that we had from the second chorus. So all the drums together sound like this with these risers. And the biggest drums we had had up to this bridge were just these. So again, a really, really nice chance for us to expand. We also have these synths and guitars going. So far we have this before a bass or any vocals. Then I knew I needed to add a bass. I just wanted something simple that was going to kind of go on those root notes. This is a bass pad that we had used in the song previously. Super simple. I knew I needed something a bit more aggressive and a little bit bigger and punchier, so I just pulled in this bass from Chilean. And then another new novel element that we were able to kind of pull in was, up until this point, all of the vocals had been single tracked. They were all super minimal and intimate. We did have a vocoder, but that was pretty much the only kind of like vocal production or vocal layering. But I knew that with this bridge, this was going to be the biggest part of the song. This gave me the perfect opportunity to stack vocals. So we have the lead in the center. We have 2 more takes of the lead panned left and right. We have a harmony panned left and right. And then we have that vocoder and some extra reverb. So we go from this really, really small, intimate falsetto vocal right here into these big soaring vocals with this full production arrangement.
It's obvious our time has started running low. I'm losing hope. I call good things, I think it's time to let you go. I love you more than I think you will ever know. It's obvious our time has started running low. I'm losing hope. Can we take back what was never spoken? Can we fix what started out as...
And then we go into that final chorus, which is again just really light piano and that kind of a falsetto version of the chorus that we had before. So the melody of the chorus stayed the same in the final chorus, but it's a completely different vocal take, way more subdued and delivery. And that was just kind of a unique dynamic for me to kind of use in the structure of the song, was bring it down to a super minimal bridge, build that bridge up to this really massive, desperate, kind of soaring bridge, similar to something you'd hear in like a Lana Del Rey song or something like that. And then since we had a bridge that was so big, we just bring that final vocal down. That gives me a chance to end the song really nice, intimate, and more somber than everything that had kind of happened before. So hopefully with, you know, showing you all of the different additions and kind of methods and mindsets behind putting that bridge together, that really just kind of helps you understand some things that you could add to your bridge. Feel free to be flexible. These are, you know, one area of the song that I feel like you can have a lot of fun with. It's really just about finding something that can transition, you know, part to part. So I will go ahead and play it from the second chorus through the bridge to that final chorus, just so you can kind of hear how it comes in and out. And then other than that, we'll wrap this video up.
Can we take back what was never spoken? Can we fix what started out as broken? I just wanna make this work, but it's clear I was never quite enough. But I can't seem to give you up. Can we take back all the lost emotion? Can we try again but be more open? I just wanna make this work, but it's clear I was never quite enough. Or maybe we just never were alone. Call good things, I think it's time to let you go. I loved you more than I think you will ever know. It's obvious our time has started running low. I'm losing hope. I call good things, I think it's time to let you go. I love you more than I think you will ever know. It's obvious our time has started running low. I'm losing hope. Can we take back what was never spoken? Can we fix what started out as broken?
And there we have it. That's how I like to go about writing my bridges. It's all just about figuring out what kind of style I want. Am I building the dynamics up? Am I bringing it down? Am I changing production elements? Am I recycling things from earlier in the song as a callback? Am I swapping chord progressions? Am I changing melodies? Remember, these typically come later in songs, so it's always good to give your listeners at least something fresh, whether that's a new melody or a new chord progression or new production elements. You're going to want something that keeps that listener until that last chorus, because that's typically what a bridge is there for. So if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Again, I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. Let us know what videos you want to see in the future. If you want to support the channel, head over to makepopmusic.com, where you can check out all of our sample packs, courses, preset packs. We've got blog posts on there, free content on there. All of the support helps us out a ton. But that's going to do it for this video. Let us know what you guys want to see next time in the comments down below. And until then, much love everybody, stay safe, and peace out.
Will you come around and save me? Be my silver lining.